Hello, I'm Beth Gillette. Welcome back to my basement yoga studio for today's active yet gentle practice. Overnight tonight in the wee hours of the morning, there will be a full moon. So I decided to theme today's practice around the full moon. We'll be doing some moon salutations. I'm doing them in a variation way using a chair for today. We'll also be standing for some of this practice. We'll use the chair throughout, so we'll be moving the chair, shifting it around a little bit. My chair is just an ordinary folding chair. Whatever chair you use, it's easier if it doesn't have any arms, gives you more freedom, more space to move. And you want it to be sturdy, light enough that you can pick up and move around a bit. So to start, I recommend coming a little bit to the edge of your chair so your feet can be flat on the floor, finding any comfortable seat where we take a few moments to check in. So as you find your seat, you can rest your hands lightly if that feels comfortable for you. Maybe your eyes stay open with your gaze cast down. Perhaps you close your eyes if that feels better. Whatever allows you to start tuning into this moment, where you are right now. Being a psychologist, I always emphasize the connection between mind and body, becoming aware of what's going on in our bodies, our physical sensations, our moods, and using that attention, that mindfulness to be able to start settling our minds. Maybe start to tune into your breath. And today we're not going to work to change the breath in any way. We'll just be aware of it, noticing it, allowing it to be just as it is. Inviting yourself to be curious about the breath, noticing the breath in your body. And we'll start to take some simple movement with the breath. We will circle the arms around and overhead. These are usually called sun breaths. Today we're going to call them moon breaths. Take your arms out. Breathe in as you circle and reach your arms. Think about circling around the moon. Exhale, you may want to turn your palms down as your arms float back down. So a few times like this, a simple coordination of breath and movement. It doesn't have to look like anything in particular, though it might look a bit like a moon, a full moon. One or two more times. It's fine if your breath pace is a little faster, a little slower than mine. And then one more, gathering up the energy of the full moon, if that visualization works for you. Exhale and release. So we'll take a similar move. This time we're going to transcribe those moons to the side, 2 moons, by reaching the arms around in front of us, big circle behind. And again, if you can coordinate with this with the breath, maybe a breathe in as you reach forward, exhale as you reach back. One more. And then we'll reverse directions on that. Breathing as you reach low and then up around behind. I can tell my shoulders are tight because I certainly hear a lot of creaks and crunches as I do this. Good news is it feels good. And then one more. You can rest your hands down wherever is comfortable. That might be by your sides. We'll do a circle with the neck. Instead of taking the circle revolving around the spine, we're going to do it as if we're tracing a full moon ahead of us. So we're basically just moving our chins around. You can start in whatever direction you'd like, moving the chin toward the chest, circling it around to one side, lifting it up just enough that it's still facing forward, the other side, and down. A few more times in this direction. So it can be good to it can feel good to take our neck through this movement. We don't want to overly strain or crunch anything. Next time you get down to your chest, reverse that movement. We have one more in this direction. If I counted wrong, you of course are welcome to do an extra or two. Sometimes you don't like to be even. You might want to do a few more on the side that feels more sticky for you or needs a little more love and attention for you today. All right, so last little warm-up move before we move into our moon salutations. This is going to be a seated cat-cow with arm circles. This time the arms are going to circle forward and back. So as you inhale, circle or kind of spread the arms back. Lift your chest up, draw your shoulder blades together. This is your cow pose. Exhale, and I don't know if you think of this as a circle. You reach the arms forward, draw your belly back, your chest down, cat. A few more times, a little bit of a movement forward and back for our spine, extension and flexion. And we'll do a little lateral movement for the spine and twisting in our practice. And maybe one more. Do one more in each direction. So inhale, maybe drawing in a little bit more air, a little bit bigger movement with the body. Exhale, releasing all of that air. And then float your arms down. So we'll move through the moon salutations. The moon salutations, when we do them standing, although it's going to be similar seated in the chair, we flow through all the poses on one side and then on the other. And sometimes we go back again, sometimes not. So you can think of it as a half moon or a full moon, however you look at it. So there are a lot of variations on these. These are going to be a little different because they're in the chair. We'll start by a firm seated pose again, feet flat on the floor. So think of this as your standing mountain pose, Tadasana, yet in the chair. We're still trying to allow everything that's pushing down into the ground or the chair, so that would be our feet and our sits bones, to be firmly rooting down, and then the energy of that lifting everything that's going up, mainly the crown of our head, but also a tall, long spine. And then one moon breath, sweeping in, reaching the hands up and overhead. You can either just reach the fingertips up, or you can draw your palms together, fingers interlaced, index fingers pointed up. We'll do a side stretch. This is our seated crescent moon to either side. So take a breath in, and I'll mirror you as you exhale, side bend to your left. Keep both sits bones, so your opposite right sits bone stays seated in the chair. Inhale, reach back up through center. And then exhale in the opposite direction, going to your right. And rooting down and rising up. You can think of the rootedness of the earth and the rising up of the moon. Inhale through center and release your arms. So we start with the legs a little bit wider than hip width, or maybe a little bit wider than chair width, toes pointed out. We'll come into our seated goddess pose. So we already have the legs, the knees are approximately at 90-degree angles, and then we're going to take the arms, elbows up the same way, 90 degrees. And you'll see for all of these poses, it helps to be right toward the edge of your chair. If you're seated way back, it's going to be a little harder. So come and slide toward the edge of your chair if you're not there already. From goddess, we're going to take this into star, and that simply means we extend the legs, so toes can be up, heels on the ground, extend the arms. This is our star. Big, beautiful star on a moonlit night. And as you exhale, draw the hands down, draw the legs back in, and we'll move toward our seated triangle pose. So you'll turn your right foot so that the toes point toward the screen. Your left foot is going to be out, toes point away, and you can stay on your heel or you can ground your foot. That's a little bit more of an intense stretch, so I'm going to stay on my heel. You'll probably find that the leg needs to be a little bit in front of the hip rather than right out as you might be if you were doing this standing. It's going to be a little bit in front. And I'm going to sweep down my left arm, down my left leg, sweep my right arm up and overhead. So chair postures aren't necessarily easier. They might make you feel the stretch more deeply in a different way. Inhale, come back up. We'll do our chair pyramid pose. So I'm going to turn to this extended leg. I'm going to slide it out a little bit and come around so that my knee is pointing down toward the ground. Now it's mostly my left buttock that's seated on the chair, resting on the chair. This is kind of like a half split. I'm going to breathe in, bow over the extended leg. Your hands can stay supported in the chair. Maybe you have room to reach down toward the floor. Maybe they support on your top leg. Any of those options is fine. Exhale, come back up. And then finally on this side, we'll do a chair crescent lunge. So now that front foot comes flat, the back foot pretty much stays bent where it is. Arms sweep up and overhead, crescent lunge. If you'd like to take a little mini back bend into this, you can. You can always keep your hands at heart center. Maybe the back hand rests on the chair back. And then exhale, release. Turn your feet toward front. And we're going to crawl toward the center into a chair squat. So this is like our goddess pose, but now we're a little bent over into a squat position. You might be less bent over with your hands resting on your thighs or your knees, but hinged a little bit forward from your hips, back as long, chair squat. And then we'll repeat the poses to your right, going in reverse order. So we start to shift toward the right side, the back knee comes down, so it's pointed toward the floor, back toes are tucked under, front knee is bent for our chair crescent lunge. Take a breath in. If you like, sweep your arms up and overhead, perhaps a little bit of a mini back bend. And remember that your hands can stay at your hips. You can rest on the back of the chair for support. It can be half heart center, both hands. Exhale, lift back up. Sorry for that little crash. Back knee is going to stay down. Front leg is going to slide straight. And we'll do our chair pyramid. I think I'll just keep my hands on the chair for support as I slide, extend it over my front leg. Bit of a hamstring stretch. Exhale, come back up. And then our chair triangle. So front knee, or this was the back knee, your left knee points forward, foot points forward, the right leg comes extended over the side into chair triangle. I really like this feeling of my body in these chair poses. It just allows me to concentrate on different areas of my body stretching than I might do if I was standing. Inhale, come back up, and we'll finish in center with goddess pose. Back to star pose, extending the legs, extending the arms. Back to goddess. And then as you breathe in, reach the arms up overhead, draw the feet back in. So we're in our extended seated mountain. And then we'll finish with a lateral stretch to either side, this time bending to your right side first. Breathe in the side stretch. Feel length along the left side. Inhale, come back up. And then seated side stretch, or you can also call this seated crescent moon to the second side. Breathing in length. One more breath. And exhale, rise back up and release your arms. All right, we'll transition to a standing position, and I'll move the chair a few times standing. I'm going to start with it facing sideways on the mat. And as you move to standing, it's important to have at least part of your chair on the mat so it doesn't slip. So I'm going to put just the back legs of my chair on my mat here. We'll start with a chair downward dog. So I'm going to start with my hands resting on the back of the chair. I'm going to begin to hinge from the hips, right where the top of the leg bones meet the pelvis. Start walking my legs back. And I'm going for an extended arm position while reaching my tailbones away, reaching my spine long. So as I do this, I don't want to collapse in the armpits or the arms. I want to keep the arms extended and lifted, keep the belly lifted, using the energy of my abdominal muscles to help send the back longer. And once I get there, I can let my biceps come between my ears. And breathe here. This is a really nice stretch for the back, especially if you've been doing a lot of sitting. And exhale, slowly walk your feet back toward your chair. Now we'll do a standing crescent lunge. We did this seated. Take your foot that's closest to the screen, place it behind you so that the heel stays up, front knee bends at approximately a 90-degree right angle. You can stay right here and think about lifting the back thigh, pushing the back knee away from you more, back heel away from you more, or you can release the chair, breathe up into that crescent. Again, adding a little bit of an upper back bend if you wish. And then exhale, hands down to the chair, step forward, step back with the other foot, and maybe you take one mini step back and then adjust by taking a second step back. That's fine. Once you get there, you can wriggle and adjust so that both feet are facing forward, back heels pushing back away from you, back thighs energized so those quad muscles are strong, the hamstring muscles are strong. Stay here. Maybe you take just one hand off. Maybe you take your hands to the chest and do that little mini back bend. You might lose your balance, and that's fine. And then breathe in, hands to chair, step forward. So now I'm going to take my chair and turn it so that the seat of the chair faces me, back of the chair to you. I'm going to step to one side. So if you're mirroring me, you'll step so that your right side is facing the chair. Lift the opposite knee, your left knee. We'll just do a few knee circles here. Getting a little space in the hip. And then the other way. All right. And then we'll come to the other side of the chair, because that leg that we just worked, so your left leg, we're going to place the foot on the seat of the chair. So for this first position, all 10 toes are still facing the screen, facing forward. And we'll do a little bit of a twist. You can rest your hand on your thigh, on your legs. Your hands can be at your hips, heart center. You always have options for wherever you'd like the arms. I'm going to put my hand on my thigh to start. So my same hand on the bent knee, my left hand on my left knee. Breathe in. As I exhale, I'm going to move around the ribs, turning to the left. My right hand is going to come across and just rest on the opposite thigh. And then this opposite hand, that can also rest on the thigh. It can go in your virtual back pocket. It can reach out and away. We're always looking for whatever version gives us the most stability. We can think about the idea of being both steady and comfortable in your poses. Breathe in. Every time you breathe in, maybe see if you can get a little bit more tallness in your spine, extension. And then exhale, turn back around. We'll keep this foot on the chair. Take your opposite foot, your right foot, maybe heel toe it out a little bit and turn it out at about a 45-degree angle. The exact angle doesn't matter. You're just creating some space between your two legs because we're going to take a little standing forward bend. Bending from the crease right here, right underneath your hip bones. We're going to lean forward. Your hand can stay on your thigh or your chair. Maybe come down to the chair seat. It's fine for this bottom knee to bend. If that gives you more space to lift your tailbone up to the sky, maybe you do sort of a ragdoll hang. One more breath. And exhale, root down, rise up. Adjust your feet one last time so they feel stable, because as we take this foot that's on the chair off, we're going to hover it for a moment. So you especially want this right foot to feel stable, grounded into the ground. Start to lift the opposite foot. My foot was sticking to my vinyl seat of my chair. See if you can hover for a moment. You're welcome to hover lower. See how your balance is today. Sometimes the full moon or other things in life can throw us off balance. And then exhale, come down. So we'll repeat that series on the second side, but if you remember, we started on this side of the chair, lifted the knee to do a few knee circles. These can be small, or maybe you take them bigger. You can feel that opening in the hip joint or that motion in the hip joint, and the other way. You can do these any times when you're standing in line at the grocery store and you have all this 6 feet around you. Go ahead and circle your knees. All right, then come to the second side of your chair. So now it'll be your right foot that's planted on the chair. Left foot is planted firmly on the floor. Start with the feet relatively close together, probably about hip width, maybe a little bit wider. Too wider, you're going to feel a little shaky in your twist, most likely. Remember to breathe in and allow that breath in to help you grow taller, or virtually taller anyway. And then as you exhale, revolve around the axis of your spine, around your rib cage. Decide what you want to do with your hands on this side. Perhaps it's have the thumbs resting lightly against your chest as a reminder to move from this area of your body, the thoracic spine. Perhaps it's an assistance of your hands resting somewhere. Or maybe if you reached out on the other side, feels good to do that again. Remember that we're looking for a steady, comfortable posture. You can think of the light of the moon being steady to guide us. And then as you exhale, back towards center, perhaps heel toe, your feet a little wider apart. The outside leg on the ground comes, toes point out a little bit. And then on your exhale, I think of this as kind of spilling in between my legs. Maybe you keep the bottom leg straight and focus on a stretch in your hamstring. Maybe you bend the bottom knee and focus on a stretch more in this hip flexor in the back. Adjust your arms as you'd like. And moving with your breath, rooting into your feet, rise back up. Point your toes forward, and here's where we'll do that little hover. So prepare by really grounding your bottom left foot. You can hold the chair the whole time if that works better for you. Lift the right foot off the chair. Hover for a few moments. Feel the bottom leg shake, maybe like mine is. And then exhale. Release. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to flip the chair back around, and we'll once more come to seated in the chair. This is why I told you to make sure your chair wasn't too heavy. All right, so we're going to do a few wind down postures seated. Well, take again, I'm still mirroring you. Take your right leg, stretch it out long. So I'm going to have to move my chair back just a tad. So you can see my leg stretch out long, my toes pointed up. We're going to take a little hip stretch known as figure 4. I'm going to give you a few different options for how you can do this pose. So this is the first option with the bottom leg stretched out long, and then the ankle of your left knee is going to go somewhere on this leg, allowing the knee to open out to the side. So you'll see this is sort of a rough figure 4 shape, or sometimes this is called seated pigeon. If this is feeling good for you here and you feel like you can have a little bit more access to stretch, maybe you slide that ankle a little bit further up above the knee, and you can hang here. Or maybe you bend the bottom leg, foot flat on the floor, and you're in a little bit of a more upright position with the bottom knee more of a 90 degree and the top knee opening up. Maybe it's opening up to this degree, Maybe it's opening up to this degree. Maybe you're more open than I am. All of it is fine. Remember, our bodies are made differently. So it's not wrong or that you're not good at yoga or don't have flexibility. It's just we have different shapes to our bodies. We'll take a little twist from here. We'll actually twist in both directions. So twisting kind of in the direction that your body's constricted, you're twisting toward your bent knee to your left. That's a closed twist. So we'll try that first. Breathing and growing tall like we did standing. Exhale, spin around the spine to your left. And same thing with your arms. You can rest them wherever. I'm going to rest my back left hand on the seat of the chair. That feels nice. My top hand is just going to rest on my leg. Take a breath in. And moving with the breath, exhale. Spin around through center. Take a breath in center. And then shift around to the other side. Since this is an open twist, we're moving away from the constriction of the body. You might find that you have a little bit more movement, a little bit more space, maybe not. The open versus the closed might feel a little better on your body. And exhale, release back to center, bring down the left leg, and we'll move through those different levels on the other side. So extend the left leg long. And when I say levels, they're like little bus stops. They're not a hierarchy. Place the right ankle over the leg somewhere, starting on the shin, see how that feels. It's not that one is better than the other, just how it feels in your body. So this feels okay in my body, so I'm going to try shifting the ankle a little above my knee. And this actually feels a little harder for me to hold. It feels a little more awkward. So I'm going to bend my bottom leg so that my bottom left leg is bent at more of a 90-degree angle. This feels more stable and more comfortable, even than the bottom stretch to me. So this does not feel like, if anything, this feels a little easier and accessible than the other version did. Breathe here. And we'll take our twist, turning toward our bent knee first. Breathe in, think length. And then as you exhale, think twist, revolving around your spine. You can see I just allowed my hands to slide along with me. Your neck and your twist can go wherever feels right. So sometimes I like to keep my chin centered over my chest so that I'm not leading the twist with my head. Other times my neck might feel a little more loose and I can turn it to glance over my back shoulder a little more. And exhale back around, pause for a moment in center. We'll shift to the open twist. Take a breath in. Exhale, turn, revolve. But just as these twists feel different, open versus closed, they can feel different side to side on your body as well. Exhale, release. And we'll do one more little kind of wrap-up pose here. We'll do a full seated forward bend or a two-legged seated forward bend, taking both feet out. So I'm on the heels of my feet, toes are pointed up. My legs are straight. It's fine to keep a little mini bend or maybe a little bit more of a bend into your legs. It's also fine to widen your legs. I'm going to keep them straight and fold forward over my mostly straight. I might have a little micro bend in my knees. You can do it this way, any way you choose. The key is we're again going to fold forward from our hip crease, keeping our spine long. And it feels nice to me to simply slide my hands down my legs as I do this. No need to go far. So if I start going further, all I would be doing is really collapsing at my chest. I'm not getting any more of a hinge at my hips or any more of a forward bend, any more movement in the pelvis. So that's not really helping me. It's only making my back feel crunchy. Your chin can be kind of in line so that the back of your neck is in line. So I'm looking up at the camera. That's a little bit of a strain in the back of my neck. See if you can take a few more breaths here, allowing this forward fold to be a little bit of a release, a little bit of a rest for your practice. And then exhale, come back up. So to finish, we'll rest for a few moments. I'm going to read a quote after the rest. So to rest, you can rest simply seated with your hands on your lap as we started. They can be folded however you'd like your hands. Or if you feel like you want to rest on the ground, a great option is to rest with the calves on the chair. I'm going to go down on the ground for a moment to show you. So coming down, flip my chair around one more time. Placing the calves on the chair and then resting back. And your chair could be a couch, could be a bench, whatever you have. Arms can do whatever. This can be such a nice restful release. It can be a nice release for the hips, a reversal of gravity. It's a nice alternative to legs up the wall with the knees bent. Although if you have a wall, you can take this leg straight up it. That's a good option for you as well. So I'll roll back up. You stay relaxing either in your seated or your floor position, whatever you've decided. I'm going to gather what I need to finish the class. And in these last few moments of relaxation, perhaps you return to that sense of the full moon. Maybe you connect with the visualization of the light, the pureness of the moon shining through you. You might find that helpful. Maybe you think of the moon affecting the waves lapping on the shore, coordinating your breath with that in and out movement of the waves. Take about 2 to 3 more breaths. And after your next breath, gradually find your way back up to a seated position if you're not there already. Finding a comfortable seat where we can conclude today's class together. Sometimes to end, I like to offer mudras. Mudras are hand gestures that can help us with our concentration and focus. The mudra I came up with today is called ushas mudra, and it's hands cupped with the palms up and the fingers just lightly interlaced. So this is a mudra that is indicative of the dawn. And since the full moon tomorrow is going to happen the early morning dawn hours, it's also a mudra of opening to possibilities. You can hold the mudra for a few more moments. I'm going to read a quote to finish. This came from a poem I found online called Under the Moon by Mrs. Moem. Without any light of its own, the moon shines nightly, silently but brightly. And what a sight! The morning comes almost too soon. You have more power than the moon. If you are holding the mudra, release, sweep your arms up and around, and one more moon breath. And then as you exhale, hands down through center, resting near your heart or on your lap. So I hope that today's practice helped with that sense of possibilities, maybe that sense of opening the light inside you, or perhaps just being grateful for we have a full moon. Even in the midst of crises and difficulties, we can appreciate the beauty of the moon, and we can appreciate the beauty of our own yoga practice. Thank you again for joining me. Take care.